Are you an adult chess enthusiast ready to sharpen your chess skills? Today we talk about essential calculation techniques every adult chess player must know to make smarter moves and win more games. Ready to elevate your game? Let's go! What's up, chess player, and welcome to the Journey to Grandmaster, the place where you can improve every single aspect of your chess game. So the way this video is gonna help you calculate better in chess is first, I'm gonna give you a position to solve, you're gonna think about and try to find the best move, and then I'm gonna explain the concept that helps you to understand it better and to find such moves in your chess games, and then of course I'm gonna reveal the right answer to prove that it really works. It's black to move here, white has an extra exchange for a pawn, but black has some activity. The question is, how would you use it? Please pause the video and find the best move for black. If you're like most of the players, you are thinking here about the move rook to c3, seems like a very active move, attacking the queen, then ready to connect our queen and attack the white king. I also did exactly the same thing, and I was completely wrong, because the first principle that I want you to learn and master today is slow down. I have learned the principles I share with you today from Jacob Agard, one of the best-selling authors. In his book, Thinking Inside the Box, I'm currently learning, and he's talking about these two systems that our brain has. The first one is responsible for those automatic decisions. The second one, though, requires some logical thinking and really diving deep into the problem. And we really need both of those systems in our lives, because we cannot think about every single decision we make in terms of logic, in terms of strategy, and so on, because we just don't have that much time in our lives. So when we do some automatic stuff, that works great. At the same time, we have this second system in our brain that helps us to really solve the difficult questions like which job should I get, or where to get the money to pay for my rent, which university our kids should go, and so on. The problem we have in chess, though, is that we are trying to solve all of the problems with the help of the first system. And so we are just having this feeling, rook c3, let's go for it and see what happens. And it's so difficult for our brain to distinguish where we could take the decision automatically and where we need to slow down a little bit and think about what really matters here. Because if you're gonna do that every single time, then you're gonna just lose on time inevitably. So I want to help you understand what is the key moment to really dive deeper, focus your time and think about what's going on in the position. You should pay more focus to the position when a lot of pieces are hanging. This bishop on e4 is hanging here. This rook on d4 is potentially vulnerable because it's only protected by the rook. This king on a1 is very vulnerable, completely naked, ready to be attacked, whereas this king is very safe, and we are in exchange down, so we absolutely have to be active, because otherwise our opponent is gonna stabilize, and then we are gonna be left with nothing. So if we play rook to c3, yes, it is a very active move, but we never make our move without thinking what the opponent can do. And it turns out white has exactly this one tempo to create some counterplay. So queen goes to a4, ready to attack the black skin. We can try queen to c5, yeah, just ready to create some checkmating ideas. But unfortunately, there is rook c4, and white is just in time, because now everything is under attack. You don't want to exchange. And if you play queen to e3, then this queen goes to e8 with a check, and then knight goes to d7. And yes, you can take a full free rook, but unfortunately, white is now giving you a perpetual check with king to f8, and then those checks cannot get over, because you can never escape. g6 square is covered. If, however, you're gonna stop for a second here and try to think what kind of active opportunities you have, and you always start looking for active opportunities from checks, captures, and threats, then you're gonna find the move kind of immediately, and it's gonna strike you like, oh my god, it's so simple. So do we have any checks? No, we cannot attack the king right now. Can we capture anything? Well, only the rook on d4, but it's protected right now. But it's protected only by this rook on d1, which doesn't really have a lot of moves to go. So all we need to do is attack it. Bishop to c2. I mean, white cannot afford lose an exchange, because then black is going to be a pawn up, and the king is also still insecure, so that would be a completely winning position. The rook cannot go anywhere along the first rank, because we are going to capture the rook on d4 for free. So basically the only move is rook to d2. But now we have this king not protected at all along the first rank. All we need to do is play rook to b8, creating a threat. Remember, checks captures threats, creating checkmate in one. And there is absolutely nothing white can do about it without losing a lot of material. Calculation is a process of finding the moves we don't see on the spot. Please pause the video for a second and try to find the winning continuation for white in this absolutely amazing position. Of course, you already know you need to start with the check, and here it's absolutely the truth, because if you wait just one tempo, this is, by the way, how you understand that this is the key moment. If you wait for one tempo here, black will just play the move a5, and then you have absolutely zero opportunities afterwards, and black is stabilizing the position, and then it's so difficult to create any problems. So let's think in terms of checks. We have rook takes b7 check, but that is unfortunately just blundering the rook. We do have the a5 check, and that seems to be very promising, because now we stop the black's idea, and now black has to take it with the bishop, because the king has absolutely nowhere to hide. Now the question is, how do we continue? And here a lot of players are suggesting this interesting move, rook to a4. Notice that the knight is pinned, it cannot take the rook. And then we want to play b4 and basically win one of the black pieces, if not both of them, and that would be devastating. But here comes a very important moment, and I really want you to remember it and use it in your own game. Big thank you to the sponsor of this video, the Chestnut company, which is providing this beautiful Chestnut Evo board for me for the purposes of this analysis. It's extremely useful because you can just analyze all of your games, all of the positions, and save it in the PGN formats to take a look later, which you can never do with a simple board. It has so many interesting and useful functions. I have made a complete review about it, and if you want to take advantage of the special offer and get a huge discount and buy one of the Chestnut products, this is just one of them. They have different ones to offer you depending on your preferences, so if you're interested, just use the link in the description to take advantage of this amazing offer and get a huge discount. The second principle that Jacob Agar teaches us is called falsification. So it's very important to think about your opponent opportunities. You can never, you never play alone. You can never think that, okay, I'm gonna just make my moves and see what happens. No, always and always focus on what your opponent can do. I notice it 100% cases with every student I have, with every low-rated chess player I speak to. You're just not thinking enough of your opponent. You're thinking that, okay, I have a king here, I have my bishops, what can I do? How do I attack my opponent? But you almost never think, what can he play? What can he do, or she? Maybe you are playing against a nice woman, I don't know. But the point is, you have to think about your opponent's ideas, hopes, dreams, and threats. It's essential if you want to become stronger as a chess player. And it turns out here, yes, black has a problem with the bishop. So maybe the bishop can go somewhere. Yes, the bishop can go to d2, and now white is in trouble. Why? Because this rook is not hanging only because of this bishop on e3, that is pinning the knight. But if the bishop is gone, the pin is gone, and your rook is gone, so that's not gonna work. And also the bishop is completely hanging here because of the another pin. The rook is pinning the pawn on f2, and you have a huge problem to face, and this variation doesn't work for white at all. So falsification basically means that you need to go carefully through your line and try to see what kind of opportunities your opponent has. You're attacking the bishop. Where can the bishop go? You're attacking the queen. Where can the queen go? You're attacking the king. Can the king escape? And so on. Always pose those questions to yourself. And remember, you always start with most active opportunities. So before playing this fancy move rook a4, we need to check more obvious chances, like given a check. And here, the only check available is rook takes b7, but it's a brilliant move that wins the game. We are sacrificing the rook. You cannot escape with the king. You have to take it. But now, the bishop is unprotected, and we can grab it. And suddenly, the knight is pinned as well. The knight cannot really go anywhere because the rook is going to be taken. Otherwise, we are going to take the knight and have two bishops for a rook at a completely winning position. Now that you have the knowledge, please try to apply this to this amazing position. Find the best move for white. Okay, I'm sure you have taken your time to dive deep into the position as well as thought of your opponent's ideas. And of course, the tempting move that so many players choose to make in this position is rook to e1. We are sacrificing the queen, but if you take it, we take with the check here, and the variation is amazing. It only starts here. You cannot go to g8 because of the discover check, so you should go here. Then we are taking the knight. Seems like we are completely winning. But wait, there is the move f6. Now the rook and the bishop are hanging, and it's not so simple. Seems like white is in trouble. But in fact, we have to continue the line, because we have rook d to e1, we defend the rook, yes, we lose the bishop, but look at black's development, it basically doesn't exist. That is why we can just play knight takes g5, and there is absolutely no defense from rook to f7 check, king g8, and rook e8 with checkmate. Don't be too fast to think that you have found the right move though, because it's not over. Remember, we always think about all of the opportunities our opponent has, and after rook to e1, it turns out black has an astonishing opportunity just to castle. Can you imagine that? Your queen is hanging twice, all you do is just castle. But it turns out it changes everything, because here, if we take our queen, let's say with the bishop, then our queen is also hanging, and he can just take it, also attacking the rook. So here it turns out it doesn't work with white, because the material in the end of the day is roughly equal and white is not winning. Instead, if you slow down a little bit, think about what your opponent can do, you might find the move queen to c1, not d2 because of knight c4 and then your queen is hanging, but just queen to c1. Now, this queen is still hanging. Yes, you can try to escape somewhere, but then the rook really comes with a check. The king can only go to f8, and then we truly win the queen and the game with the move bishop to e7. So yes, at first glance it might seem like a very complex problem, but if you think about it in terms of the right concepts, if you focus on the right things, then suddenly it all becomes much simpler to find. In this position, I was laughing so much when I saw the right move. Please, can you find this absolutely crazy idea for white? White a move and win the game. The third principle, it's so important. It's what stops me so often from finding the best move, and I try to fight against it. It's essential. It's called resistance. So we really need to think in terms of all of the main principles we know without any resistance. We need to overcome our resistance, because here this rook is hanging, this checkmate is coming, we cannot take the queen, both with the knight and with the rook, because of just rook to c1, then we can exchange the rooks, but then checkmate is coming, the king has nowhere to hide, and it doesn't matter that we have an extra queen. We also cannot take the knight here, because of the same reason. Queen takes d1, and then rook to c1, that's a checkmate. But if we overcome resistance, then both according to Jacob Aagaard as well as based on 20 years of my playing experience, we have a much higher chance to find the best move in the position. You remember the most active moves? Checks, captures, threats. The only two checks here are rook to e8 and queen to f8. They both seem to just blunder our pieces without any necessity to do that. But if you don't stop there, if you try to think one move further, okay, but what will actually happen if I do that? Just forget about everything you know about chess. For example, the fact that if you blunder the queen in one move, that's not a good thing. No, you need to think one move further, because it turns out queen to f8 check is a brilliant move here. Why? Because we either are deflecting this rook to go to f8, or we are pushing this king to be at f8. Let's start with the king. Then we can take the queen with a check. Then we can just take this knight on e2, and we are going to be a full piece up, completely winning position. If, however, the rook takes the queen, we basically do the same thing. We take the queen with the knight, and now we have a fork here on the bishop and the rook, and the knight on e2 is still hanging twice, so there is absolutely no chance to save the game for black. I personally completely missed this opportunity when I was solving the puzzles, and I'm so curious to know whether you have found it, just because I couldn't imagine that such a move is possible. Once you do, of course, it's so simple. Come on, you're just winning the queen the next move. You're not really sacrificing anything, but you're removing a very important attacker away from your opponent, and that solves all of your problems. But to really think it's possible, This is a real challenge, and this is why you need to forget about resistance and try to really think about all of the moves, like what's gonna happen next. Not just one move. I'm gonna go there with the queen, my opponent is gonna take it. What can I do afterwards? Do I have any real opportunities to continue the variation? Imagine how cool it would be to play chess without ever having opening troubles again. What if I told you I could teach you all openings you will ever need in just 10 days? You get lifetime access to more than 110 pure value video tutorials, almost 100 practical tasks to apply your knowledge immediately into practice, 30 plus bonus videos to dive 10 times deeper, as well as private community where all questions you might ever have are answered daily. Get a $200 limited time discount with the link in the description and forget about all opening pain once and for all. It's time for your homework. Try to use all of the principles we have learned today and find the best move for white here, how to save the day, because white is in total trouble. It seems like checkmate is completely unstoppable. Now, why do you need to calculate properly? Well, because you want to win at chess. And how do you win at chess? You learn to attack your opponent, to create threats for him until he just cannot handle it anymore. And in this video, I share with you everything you need to know to attack in chess like a pro.